And those who are trying to convert our universities into a political pressure group, those violate academic freedom. This goes for the presidents who protested our entry into Cambodia. And I say that not because I disagree with their political view, but because they injected day-to-day politics into an action connected with the universities. If we do not separate politics from the universities, then I'm afraid it is we lose people's respect and the universities will cease to be effective. To my mind, this is the core of the problem, and we have to find ways to get back into the proper intellectual atmosphere which used to prevail on our campuses.
Well, I find that personally difficult to justify. However, I would venture the opinion that perhaps the elimination of corporal punishment would be something that some people might construe as undermining or diminishing the confidence of the principals in the administration. That is, it would abrogate some of their authority as being in absolute control of the children and of their school.
I think it's vitally important in the first place that the bond issue pass. It's for about $38 million, and it will not result in any new taxes whatsoever, either this year or hereafter. Primarily, the bond issue is a catch-up project. There are most of it, some $22 or $3 million of it, relate to street improvements. And these are matters which are simply vital and will be stopped. Construction will be stopped on these projects, many of which are partially completed, unless the bond issue passes.
Well, it's very difficult to do it on an economic basis because you can't really do a cost benefit. You can't find out what the benefit is of an additional policeman or an additional fireman. There's no way of getting a dollars and cents answer to that. So it's a very difficult kind of thing to measure.
What does it end up being then? A purely political question?
I think so.
But aside from that, hasn't the Goals for Dallas recent economic potential study included in its potentials a tax increase?
Yes. In fact, it's going to be about a threefold increase from 1967 to 1980.
Actually, we've had a relatively quiet holiday period here in the city, violence-wise and traffic-wise also. I think it's going to come out quieter, actually, a better, more safer period. This is a traffic aspect, the transient type people going through our city, rushing in the short holiday period, seems to cause a lot of problems.
It's very difficult to determine what all this increase is going to go for. This was an outside number that was given to us by the National Planning Association on their projections.
But even if it does have a fair degree of credibility, and city services were not increased as projected because the taxes were kept down and cut back, would that then have an effect on the potential economic growth of the city overall?
It would probably have an adverse effect on the economic potential of the city.
Items of great importance, one of which is the removal of the Riverside Sewer Treatment Plant, which has been an eyesore and a smelly sort of thing for years and years, and it badly needs to be removed. This will be done if the bond issue passes. The Meacham Field improvements are vital at this particular time. Meacham Field has gotten to the point where it is self-supporting as far as operations are concerned, and we're at the point where jet aircraft can and will come into Meacham Field, and this can only be done if the new runway is constructed. It's vital that we spend the $2 million so that we can get equivalent federal funding to complete this project and have it all ready by the time that the regional airport opens. Because when that happens, when the regional airport opens and GSIA, Greater Southwest, is closed down, then Meacham Field is going to be even worse needed than it is now. And right now it's one of the busiest private public airports in the country.
To exert their authority in the schools?
I personally don't, and I think that a principal who feels that he must inflict corporal punishment upon his students is not as good a principal as one who would try to sit down and reason and counsel with the students and find out really what is the cause of their deviations.
I think this has been particularly highlighted in the recent Russian worldwide exercise, which you may recall for the first time the Russians sent their navies to all the seas of the world, and they climaxed this exercise by a visit of a missile cruiser, a missile destroyer, a missile submarine, 2 other submarines and support ships, which came actually into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico, back and made 2 visits to Cuba, and then went home. Thus we see the Soviets are determined to dominate the oceans of the world. The extensive growth of their navy, their merchant marine, and their fishing fleet has been astounding to all of us. Years ago, you never saw the Russians out of their home waters. Today, when you sail the seas, you find them everywhere. And for this reason, coupled with the expansion into the Caribbean and Central and South America by the Russians, I think it's just most important that we have a base like Guantanamo as an extension of the U.S. Navy into the Caribbean.
You find yourself in a
Lex, I've only heard that first name a few other times. Where did your mother and father get the name for you?
My dad named me. I don't know where he got the name from. He wanted something simple and short, but growing up, I found it hard and confused to go with.
It's an attractive name in that people pay attention to it. I think it'll help you in calling attention to you as a quarterback. And from what I've seen in your spring game, etc., and what I've heard about you, you should do all right as Nagy. You looking forward to your varsity career?
Oh, yes, sir. My hands sweat every time I think about this season coming up. It's just around the corner next Saturday.
How do you feel you and your fellow sophomores will do this year with such a tough intersectional group of games?
Yes, sir. Our intersectional games are tough. We're playing some tremendous teams. It's going to give us a lot of experience for conference play. If we can come through it healthy with the experience we'll obtain from these games, people better watch out, I think.
Not big of an issue in the first place. They ought to let us wear the hair the way we want to, wear it. It's just a matter of individuality, I suppose, pride.
Cut my hair because I want to get back in and keep going my education. I want to get out of the system as fast as possible, but I'm still in support of the suit.
I'm in school, but I'm not with them at all. They keep bothering me all the time, even though I got my hair cut. It's just the thought, I guess, that I did have long hair.
Do as these students' lawyer?
Well, of course, what I hope to do is get those who are out of school back in and win the right for those who are in school to dress as they please within reasonable limits. I don't believe that most of the dress codes in Dallas County are reasonable.
I think the guys look good with long hair.
I love it. I love it. I do. Yes.
Of those who would term themselves liberals. I don't like terms such as that, but what I think it does mean is I don't think any political party has room for those who really are extremists.
Courtroom next Thursday. Tell us about it, if you will.
Senator Mike McCool of Dallas will preside over a Senate committee studying the needs for change in the election code, and he will have, I believe, 4 senators with him. All people in this area who are interested in testifying, of course, will be invited to do so. It's a real opportunity for the lay person to lay his opinions before a legislative committee, and it's indeed an important hearing in my judgment.
The schools, most of them, say that hair cannot be over the collar or over the ears, but simply because the hair is a few inches over the ears or over the collar is obviously not going to be disruptive. I don't see any legitimate basis for saying that that interferes with education.
Tell me this, many administrators and principals say that the students that are complaining are very much in a minority, that most of the students have complied, and that these students are troublemakers. Is that true?
The fact that the students have complied because they are sincere in their desire for an education doesn't mean that they're not displeased and dissatisfied and wouldn't like to see a change.
First, Teal, I don't consider this the Nixon silent majority. I think that the Democratic Party traditionally has spanned the whole width and breadth of our nation. It's had young and old, and liberals and conservatives. It's been made up of ethnic groups. It's been made up of, well, it runs the whole political gamut and include what you term the silent majority. I think the working man has been the backbone of our party. I think he'll continue to be.
Do you think that in that case the party itself is not going to have any room for the so-called liberals, the minorities?
No, I would reject that completely. I think our party, very definitely, ours is a party of liberalism. Ours is a progressive party.
I think it's resulted in an increase in mediocrity among elected officials. We don't have as many voters participating in the election process now as we had 15 years ago. And much of this can be traced to the fact that in the spring, the voters just don't seem to get warmed up to elections as they did in the past.
When do you think the primary date should be?
I think it should be as late as possible before the general election, probably in September and October. We don't have a problem of registration of the voters. We have more voters registered now than we ever have in history, and yet steadily decreasing number of people participating in the election process.
Up to 4,000 foot in a B-24 bomber, 21 of us, and about the fifth or sixth one out, down to 2,500 foot, pulled my main ripcord. Main had a malfunction, and down about 1,500 foot, cut away from my main, pulled my reserve. It opened about 1,000 foot. Went on down the ground, landed in the field safe, and the boys picked me up out there in the wrecker, brought me back into the field here.
On arrival, the firemen found one elderly white female, approximately age 75, sitting out in the front yard with approximately second-degree burns on her both arms and her left shoulder. The fire department found one white female, approximately age 39 years of age, burned to death in the back room on the northeast corner of the house. There was a gas explosion. The house was blown apart on the back end. And at the present time, the investigation will be continuing.
Dr. Teller, what brings you to Dallas this time?
I have been asked to give a talk, and I talked about the question of secrecy. You see, we have heard in the last year that we are inferior to the Russians, and that in fact the Russians may attack us and destroy us within a few years. This came as a big surprise to the American public, and we are unprepared because the Russian advances have been kept secret, and in that way secrecy interfered with the democratic process. We have shown that in industries like computing machines, we can leave everybody behind if we work openly. And openness seems to me a more effective way to work than our secret work on atomic energy.
Occasionally in this area we've heard of fish kills before. Is this one any more unusual than the others?
I think it is. It's the largest I can ever remember, both in terms of the number of fish killed and in the severity of it. We've had occasional turnovers of lakes, for example, natural causes, which have produced a small amount of fish killed. But this is the largest I can ever remember in this part of Texas.
What can be done about it to repair the damage and prevent other occurrences, and who do you think should take some steps?
Well, the Texas Water Quality Board has primary jurisdiction in this area because they're the agency that's charged with preventing pollution of our waterways and our bodies of water. I've asked the chairman of the Texas Water Quality Board to set this matter down on its next agenda for hearing by the board. I've asked their personnel to begin an immediate investigation to determine the cause of this fish kill. If it can be determined who caused it, if it was caused by some person or group of people, then I hope that the Water Board will exercise its jurisdiction first to punish those who are responsible by fines, which it has the power to do, by getting an injunction to prohibit this from happening in the future. I would like to see them also require the polluter who is responsible to pay the cost of investigating this, checking it out. I'd like to see them require them to pay the cost of restocking the lake. I've also contacted the Parks and Wildlife Department to ask them to help us to restock this lake as soon as it can be safely done.
Randy, what happened?
Well, I was just sitting over on my front, on the stairs by my house, and I was just looking around, and all of a sudden I heard this explosion, and I looked over at his house was on fire.
And what did you do then?
Well, I came over here, and then there was a police car sitting over there, and I guess he turned it in, and some men came over here and helped this lady